Hey, Trailblazers, this is your host, Jason. And as you know, one thing we care most about on the Trailblazing Texas podcast is supporting small businesses that support our outdoor community. Angry Pica Food Company is exactly that. Family-driven, community-focused, and committed to fueling adventures the right way. So please check them out. They have wonderful meals and a new product, coffee, which I've tested and it's spectacular. So give them a look at angrypicafood.com. Now on with the episode. Welcome to the Trailblazing Texas Podcast, where we embark on a journey through our diverse Texas landscapes and breathtaking trails while always engaging with our amazing Texas hiking community. So settle in, tighten up those bootlaces, and get ready for the thrilling tales awaiting for you on this episode. Welcome to the Trailblazing Texas Podcast. I'm your host, Jason. Today, I'm excited to have Craig, Superintendent from Abilene State Park. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. All right, so Abilene State Park, as we kind of talked about before the podcast, has a very special place in my heart. Usually when I'm heading up to Caprock, I have a friend that lives in Abilene and I go have dinner with him and his wife. He was a guest on the podcast, episode 11 and 12, Mr. Barry, lost hiker at Guadalupe Mountain National Park. Over the years, we've become friends. So I love my time in Abilene to go to Cheddar's. We always go to the Cheddar's there and have a meal. I started on these trips, instead of staying at hotels, I'm like, oh, why don't I stay at state parks just because, it saves money and I really get to experience state parks. So I started doing that. First time I ever did it was at Abilene State Park, going to visit Mr. Barry on my way to Caprock. And the morning that I was packing up to leave, you know how you just feel sometimes like somebody's watching you?
Yeah.
I was like, all right, I'm in my vestibule packing up and I'm like, I just feel like somebody's watching me. So I'm turning around, there's people camping, but everybody's doing their own thing, probably still asleep. I just felt uneasy. I turned around and there's a turkey right there. First and foremost, I had no idea, and I don't know why I didn't have any ideas. Texas has turkeys. So to the listeners, if you don't know, Texas has turkeys. And, you have Thanksgiving, so you know how big they are. So this turkey's walking up to me, and I'm thinking I'm fixing to get tent jacked by a turkey. What do I do? I have no training on what I'm supposed to do. Like, I'm in the quads. I know if I see a mountain lion, okay, in Big Bend, if I see a bear, yep, I got it. No knowledge of what to do with a turkey. So I'm like, all right, what's about to happen? So I turned and faced the turkey and it was, I guess, a female turkey. And, she's like looking at me and she's probably about 4 feet away. And she just looks around me into my tent. And I'm like, what the heck? So I'm like, hey, shoo, get away. So I start walking towards her to see, okay, maybe she'll run off. As I'm walking closer to her, she's walking towards me. She comes right up to me, and then she just leans her head around and looking in my tent. And we're probably about 3 or 4 feet from the tent. And I'm like, no, having the Texas state parks on and stuff, I know you don't imprint on animals. I'm not going to feed you. Go away. And so again, Abilene State Park will always have a special place in my heart. And I just knew I was going to get jacked by a turkey.
I can tell you that was Henrietta. She is a known fixture at Abilene State Park. She's not around anymore. I don't know if she found a flock and ran off with them or something else happened, but her descendants are still around, and they will still do things like that. We cannot catch them. We've tried so many times to catch them. They will chase people. They will eat bugs off your car. You're right. There's no training on how to deal with a turkey. Everybody knows what to do with a bear. Everybody knows what to do with a cougar. But like you said, there is no turkey training that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
And yeah, they're brave and fierce. They've never attacked anybody, but they will follow you. They will chase you. I don't know what's going on with these turkeys, but that's funny that that I've never heard of them going after somebody's tent or the content of somebody's tent. That's a new one.
Oh, she was looking like, all right, what's in there? Is there any Mountain House Mills leftovers or what? And I had another, like, and I'm in the quads a lot, so I see roadrunners running across the road, but never up close. And I was in South Llano with my friend Travis and some other hiking Texas hikers. And same thing, I was putting up my tent, and you kind of hear these steps and look behind. I didn't realize not so much in height. Yeah, they're kind of tall, but like in girth. So this roadrunner just walked up to me and I'm like, oh, like looks like a velociraptor.
Yeah, they're dinosaurs. They are.
Yeah. And they don't care. Like they don't care one iota, like who you are, they're just going to come look around. Same thing in the quads. There's Sammy the skunk. Pine Springs, you get up about 2 a.m, you'll hear people screaming on all the campsites because he's going to go, or maybe his brothers and sisters, they're going to go and see if you have any snacks. And they won't spray you. You'll get out of because we usually start hiking about 3 a.m. And so, you're up really early cooking breakfast. And, he'll walk right up to you, smell you, look around. And I'm like, Sammy, I'm not giving you anything. I never do. You're not getting anything. And then he just moseys off and into the Guadland. So yeah, that's just a funny story. Yeah, that was my first experience at Abilene State Park. And I didn't even realize it seemed like turkeys sleep in trees or they're sometimes up on these low
They
branches.
roost. They'll roost up in the trees or sometimes on top of the park headquarters building.
Wow.
But then they'll also nestle down in the ground in the leaves and
Yeah.
stuff too.
Yeah. All right. So I don't know if you're familiar with the podcast, but I'd like to kick it off with a little lightning round. And these are questions that the listeners love. You have no idea what I'm about to ask, but I promise they're not hard. And I call it the lightning round because I don't have anything better to call it until this morning. I'm going to let me know what you think. Instead of lightning round, when I have the state parks on, how about ranger warm up?
Sure. Yeah, that'll work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. I like it.
The first segment of ranger warm up. Are you ready?
All right, let's do it.
All right. Favorite trail in the park?
I like the Dam Road Trail.
All right. One word you would use to describe Abilene State Park to the listeners.
Family.
I love that. Wow. What is your favorite activity to do in the park?
Get lost.
Yeah. Nice. Funniest thing you've ever overheard a visitor say?
Hmm. A lot of people ask me when we're going to put water in the lake.
Sunrise or sunset in the park?
God, they're both great. I'm gonna go sunrise though, but they're both beautiful.
All right. What is tougher to manage, the Texas heat or the crowds?
Oh, the heat for sure.
What is your go-to trail snack?
Probably jerky.
All right. Most important thing first timers come to the park must know before arriving. And I'm going to have an answer for it too, but go ahead and hit us with yours.
I'm gonna have to think on that one. Why don't you give me yours and then I'll come back with mine.
All right. And I say this on every episode, and I learned this from Nick at Government Canyons because we talked about this and he gave me the data behind it. The most important thing for people to coming to the park, make a reservation.
Yeah.
You save park staff so much time. You save time. It that couple of minutes, I think it was like 17 extra mouse clicks. Nick said that if you don't have a reservation, that you have to, that the park staff has to enter. So make a reservation.
That's a good one. Yeah. Yeah. In and out if you've got a reservation. If you don't, it takes a while. So that is a good one. Um, the only other thing that I would say coming to Abilene is we don't sell ice here. People come thinking we're going to have ice. We don't sell ice, unfortunately. We are off the routes of all major ice delivery companies, and bring ice if you need ice, or be prepared to go into town.
Yep. What part of the park do you hope never changes?
Ooh, we've got some really nice oak groves on the
Mhm.
on both sides, but especially over at the lake that are undeveloped. And I hope that never changes.
Nice. You just hired a brand new park ranger. What is the first thing that you're going to tell them on their first day?
Watch out for the turkeys.
Yes. All right. Watch out for the turkeys. I love it. Yeah. This is a yes or no question. And if it's yes, give us the information. What trail snack do you pretend to like but secretly hate?
Uh, how is that a yes or no question?
Well, do you have one? So, like for my example, so Nikki at Lake Brownwood, we had the same one. So I love beef jerky. I eat it, you know, just kind of during the week, but I don't want to
Mhm.
have it on trail. So that's it. But everybody that I hike with has beef jerky, so they're always like, "Hey, you want some jerky?" And I don't want to say no. I'm like, "Oh yeah," but I'm really secretly like, "I don't want to eat this."
Yeah, it is salty. It makes you drink more. Um, yeah, honestly, I don't take a lot of stuff with me when I go hiking as far as
Okay,
food goes. Um,
that could be an answer. Like you don't have one.
yeah, I don't have one.
All right.
Yeah.
Would you rather clean the park restrooms after a busy holiday weekend or lead a group of 20 unsupervised fifth graders on a hike?
Give me that bathroom. I'll take the bathroom.
Everybody picks that.
There's got to be some truth to it then.
Absolutely. So let's say today is your last day at Abilene State Park. What is a favorite personal memory that you have?
Uh, I I really like helping staff uh, develop and achieve their goals. And we have an ops trainee that when I got here he's young, he's still young, but he was kind of unsure of himself. Didn't quite, I don't think, quite know what his, I don't want to say purpose, but what his role was. And in the year that I've been here, I've just kind of turned him loose and just really, it's no credit to me. It's all credit to him. I just turned him loose and he's
Right.
developed so much. He has grown so much. He has gotten so much more confident in dealing with visitors, in dealing with park operations. And eventually he'll make an incredible superintendent. And I'm really proud of him and the work that he's done. And that if today were my last day, that would be my biggest accomplishment, I think, the what I'm most proud of.
Oh, that's wonderful. I love it. All right. Who has the worst attitudes? And I have an answer for this one. Turkeys or raccoons?
Oh, definitely turkeys.
Yep, that's mine.
I feel like raccoons are just happy to be there. Raccoons are just enjoying the moment. Turkeys are out looking for conflict.
Yeah, absolutely. They're looking for a battle.
Yeah.
Hardest time you've ever laughed at your time at the park?
Uh, okay, it's back to the turkeys again. There is, we have an aquatics coordinator. That's how confident we are that this pool is going to get open. We have an aquatics
Yep.
coordinator. And watching the videos of her getting chased by the turkeys is,
No way.
oh, yeah. Yeah. Security videos up at headquarters of her getting chased by turkeys um, I mean, never, I don't think I've seen anything funnier, definitely at this park, maybe in my life. She's gonna hate that I even mentioned that. I won't say her name,
Yeah.
but she's gonna hate that I even mentioned it. But yeah, those are pretty funny videos.
Oh man. If I ever, well, I definitely will make it back to Abilene State Park. I mean, hey, I'm always ready to watch a funny video, just to let you know.
When you come by, I'll share it with you, but don't tell
All
anybody.
right. No, no, no. Mum's the word. All right. If you could teleport anywhere right now to another Texas state park, where would you go?
Uh, I'd like to go back to Martin Dies for a little bit. Martin Dies is where I started.
Really?
I started out there. I miss that park a lot. I love Abilene, and I'm not going anywhere. But you're teleporting me right now. Martin Dies would be a good one. Um, it's such a unique park, and like I said, it's where I got my start, and I do miss it.
I had Catherine on the podcast. She's the interpretive ranger there,
Hmm.
and you just go there and there's alligators, but I never see them. And I'm like, "Are they alligators there?" And she's like, "Yeah, I see them every single day." And I'm like, "Ah, I want to see an alligator."
Absolutely, yeah. When I was there, the biologist said that there were 2 to 3 thousand in between the lake and the two rivers that merge right there near the park. 2 to 3 thousand in that area. I don't know how updated those numbers are, but you see them every day. You see them every single day.
Oh yeah, I mean, she's posting pictures on social media of it's like alligator palooza sometimes with the amount
Yeah.
of of alligators that she comes in contact with. All right, I love this question. Favorite month to be in the park?
Um, Probably November.
Okay.
It's the leaves are changing. Our Frontier Day festival goes on, or Frontier Day event goes on in November. Depending on the year, the weather could be pretty nice. Could still be hot, but it could be nice. Yeah, November.
All right. So I think you've already answered this, but let's go with a second. Funniest wildlife encounter that you've either witnessed or you've had personally?
All right, I won't talk turkeys this time. It's hard not to. Hmm. That's a tough one. I've seen raccoons steal people's food, but it wasn't at this park. It was back at Martin Dyes. I've seen that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, outside of turkeys chasing people,
Yeah.
there
Okay.
it hasn't been too crazy here. I mean, there's a ton of wildlife, and the wildlife respect the people, and the people respect the wildlife, and there's not too many crazy, funny interactions other than those dang turkeys.
Yeah. All right. I love it. So I asked this question. I thought it was kind of a cool question. I think the first time I asked it was to Natalie at Copper Breaks. I'm not Copper Breaks, Cap Rock. And I liked her answer, but the most underrated animal in the park, her answer for Cap Rock was the ravens or the crows, I guess. So what do you think it is for Abilene?
Probably the beavers. People don't know we
Y'all
have
have
beavers.
beavers?
Oh yeah, come on out. I'll show you all the works of the beavers.
Wow.
Yeah, probably the Abilene's a weird park. It doesn't belong where it is. It's so different than everything else around it. Which is what makes it really neat. But yeah, beavers. They they're they're chewing up a lot of trees. They dam up areas and cause historically accessible places to become marshes. So they're not well liked by staff, but I think that's what makes them underrated. They're so cool. Beavers are so cool. You don't
Yeah.
expect them in this part of the world. So yeah, definitely beavers.
All right. I love that. Yes or no? And when I ask this question, I, as a hiker, backpacker, understand what it is to have a secret spot, to protect that secret spot, to find these gems like in the Guads. There's places that I do not. I won't even tell my wife about them or my kids. Like I protect those. Do you have any secret spots in the park that you like to go?
I do. There's a couple. They're both on the lake side. They're on the back side of the lake. One of them we are adding as a point of interest, or hopefully adding as a point of interest on the map. It's just a little, we're calling it Oak Point. It's just a little point that sticks out into the lake or the lake bed, and it's just got a really nice view across the lake and of the hills around the park. That one we're hoping to add to the map so that other people can enjoy it. The other one, I'll tell you about it, but again, don't tell anybody.
All right.
It's it's also behind the lake. It's off the main trail, and I'll send you a picture of it. It might be a good picture to share
Mhm.
from when it snowed. But it's a point of elevation that overlooks the entire lake, the entire park. You can see the hills. I don't know if you're familiar with the Callahan
Wow.
Divide, which is the
Mhm.
hills that cut through here. Just a beautiful view of the hills, the lake, oak groves, mesquite groves, and there's very few man-made objects that you can see. There are some, but there are very few. And it's just a beautiful view, and I love it. I go by it every time I drive by it. I stop and I get out and I walk over to it and I go enjoy it for a few minutes. I show it to people. I want to share it because it is such a nice view. I don't want it to get developed. I wouldn't mind a lookout point, a little trail going to it, but I don't want it to get super developed because it's just such a pristine, beautiful spot. It's got some really cool old juniper trees and oak trees, and it's a cool spot.
Yeah. And it's funny, I've never really gave this a whole lot of thought, but having the state parks on and the national park, Guadalupe came on. I'm still in the process of finishing recording that up. But I think it really hit me when Nikki from Lake Brownwood came on and she was talking about the restoration of the cabins and, like going down in the cabins. She said, like, they're all closed, but you can almost feel like they're just relieved because we can love things too much, like,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah. All right. Are you ready for the most important question second most important question of the podcast? The most important question of the podcast, when we get to it, is how the listeners can support you guys and your initiatives. But the second most important question of the podcast, there is some pressure because this will dictate and give us direction of does it end now or do we keep going? And also, no guest that have asked this question to has ever got it wrong. So are you ready?
I think so. Feels like a lot of pressure, but I think I'm ready.
All right. All right. Whew. I'm even nervous because I know one day somebody will get it wrong. What is your favorite of all time Texas hiking podcast that you've been a guest on?
I got to go back and think about these pretty closely, but so far I'm going to have to go with Trailblazing Texas.
Oh, yes, you nailed it. I love it. And as a host, it warms my heart. So now as we so we're finished with the Ranger warm up. Now we're going to dive into the episode. This first section is one of my favorite, and I think it's important as well. I love the stories of how you all got into working for Texas Parks and Wildlife. So how long have you been with the Texas Parks and Wildlife Agency?
I started with TPWD on Tuesday, 2/22 of 2022. So it's very easy to remember.
Really?
Yeah. So that was at Martin Dies Junior State Park. I was there for a little over 2 years. I went to Cedar Hill State Park for a little over a year. And then on April 6th of last year, I started here at Abilene State Park.
So what brought you to Abilene State Park specifically?
I'm from the area. I grew up in the area. I went to Hardin Simmons University in Abilene. I have family close by still. Over the years, I visited Abilene State Park a few times. Went to the scout camp next door, and I always said, if anything ever opens up at Abilene State Park, I'm going to go for it and see what happens. And funny enough, superintendent role opened up. I applied for it, and now I'm here.
Nice. So, as a superintendent, can you describe a little bit about your role?
Yeah, sure. So I manage a team of about, I think we're at 12 people. Well, me makes 13. Um, and they're just a team of really talented, passionate folks. My work consists a lot of like small group brainstorming, problem solving. I don't like to lead from the top. I like to lead in a group. I like to involve staff in decisions that I make because it affects them. Every decision I make affects them. So I like to try to involve them in every decision I make. And then, outside of that, I'm constantly coordinating with other divisions in the agency, other organizations, representing the park and uh, and our interests in the best way that I can, supporting the park. Squeaky wheel gets the grease, so I try to squeak a lot on behalf of the park. And it's just, I'm the captain of a ship, and everybody knows their role. Everybody does their role really well. I'm just trying to keep us pointed in the right direction.
Nice. I love this question, and whether it's a site superintendent, whether it's a interpretive ranger, or even I had Inks Lake on, and Katie, I think she's like operational assistant something. So everybody has the same answer to this. So let's test you out. What does a typical day look like for you at the park?
That is a tricky question. I'm sure you get that. Um, typically, the way I like for the day to go, I get up, I go and I make a round of the park, drive, along the lake, the day use areas at the lake. Sometimes I'll drive to the back side of the lake. Like I said, check out my favorite spots. And then I'll go drive the main part of the park, see what's going on, see if there's any literal or figurative fires to put out. Um, kind of get a feel for what the day is going to look like just based on what's going on in the park itself. And then I'll go check in with staff, and we'll kind of start making a plan for the day. Taking kind of stock of what's going on and make a plan and go from there. You know, I'm sure everybody says it. No day is the same, and that's the great part of this job. You don't
Yep.
really know what you're getting into every day. And that's what makes it exciting. So it gets you going every morning, gets you up and gets you moving. You don't know what you're walking into a lot of times.
It's funny. I asked that question to Noah, the interpretive ranger at Mission Tejas, and he goes, how I can judge how my day is going to go is he goes, I just walk to the public restrooms and look. And he goes, that tells me everything that I need to know.
Yeah, that's a pretty good indicator for sure.
So I love this question. What inspired you to get into working at parks and the conservation?
So I'm a very passionate Texan. I don't think obnoxiously passionate, but I'm a very passionate Texan. Hopefully not obnoxiously. I want to share Texas and my passion with anyone who will listen. I did the history route for a long time. I worked at the Bullock Texas State History Museum in Austin. I shared the history of Texas, and now I'm the cultural history of Texas. And now here at Abilene, I'm sharing the cultural and natural resources of Texas. And there's not a lot of public land in Texas, and this is our little piece that we get to conserve and share. It's really fulfilling to be able to have a piece of Texas, to have a piece of our history that I can share with people, that I can promote and share with others.
I love it. So what is one thing you think about your job that would surprise most people?
I mean, honestly, that I'm not a cop, that I'm not a game warden, I'm not a law enforcement officer. I'm just some guy. I'm just some guy that likes the outdoors and likes to share with other people. Everybody thinks I'm a game warden. Everybody thinks I'm a police officer. I'm just a dude.
All right, so now we get into the part. Oh, thank you for sharing that. That was awesome. And getting into the actual talking about the Abilene State Park. What do you think visitors usually notice when they first arrive at the park?
Probably the trees. This is such a weird area for Central West Texas, or sorry, West Central Texas. You go north of here, it's the plains. You go south and west of here, it's real scrubby. But right here at Abilene State Park, there's a lot of trees. And there's some trails that are just completely in the forest. And then on top of that, you've got, the hills that surround us. Again, you go north of here, it is flat. You go east of here, it is flat. It gets rocky south and west of here, but right here, there's the Callahan Divide. There's these hills that cut through. So again, it's not something you expect in this part of Texas.
So how would you describe the atmosphere at the park for visitors?
It's a really slow pace. A lot of people just kind of hanging out. It's easy hikes. There's a lot of wildlife to check out. Lots of people come here to hang out with friends and family. Lots of family reunions, little clubs and groups that come to just hang out. Lots of regulars come out day after day after day. We get lots of regulars that just come out and hike. It's really slow paced, family friendly. It's just a nice slow, not slow. I mean, we have almost 80,000 people that come out here every year, but it doesn't feel like it. It's just a slow, family friendly, laid back atmosphere.
So in your opinion, how does the park change with the seasons?
It changes quite a bit. It's pretty slow in the winter. As we come out of the winter, it starts picking up in the spring. We've got programs in the spring, and then obviously spring break hits hard. You get a lot of folks out here for spring break. Summer comes, it slows down a little bit, but not too much. And then with the pool open, it's going to pick up. Fall stays busy. There'll be several events and programs that happen in the fall. Fall kind of ends with some public hunts, and then we go back in the winter and it slows down a little bit. It gets really, again, with all the trees we have, it gets really beautiful. It gets really colorful here in the spring. In the fall. Well, in the spring too, all the flowers. Lots of changes with as much vegetation as we have here. There's lots of changes. It's very colorful. It's a lot more colorful than other parts of this area.
So in your opinion, what is the best way for a first-time visitor to experience the park?
I would say for a first time visitor to come out, stay a weekend. If you're not real familiar with camping in general, stay in a yurt or stay in a screen shelter. Take your time, enjoy the trails. I'd say if you're going to do the lake, start early because it gets hot and sunny over there. Go check out the bird blind. It's a real short walk, and there's lots of wildlife, birds and otherwise, that you'll see at the bird blind. You can rent some fishing poles, or not rent, but you can borrow some fishing poles. Go fishing in Buffalo Wallow or Elm Creek. If there's water in the lake, you can go fish in the lake as well. Maybe rent a kayak, take it out. It's a real easy first time park. Trails are short, they're shaded for the most part. Everything's pretty close. Go check out the CCC stuff. It's a pretty good first time park.
That's perfectly said. That when you go, especially, there's some state parks that you go to and it's just way overwhelming. It's the crowds. It's what should I see? I mean, and the size of the park. And I think you nailed that one. That if you're new to Texas state parks, this is a gym. Like, it's not overwhelming. You have the time to kind of sit and think. You don't feel rushed. I love that answer, and very well said.
Yeah, everything's really close. It's not hard to get around in this park. It's a 2,000-acre park, but everything that's developed is really close, and you can very easily get around on foot or on a bike.
So I know we talked a second ago, you mentioned yurts and stuff. So what are the campsite options?
Yeah, so we've got a little bit of everything. We've got the 7 yurts. There's one big one, and then there's 6 smaller ones. They're all fully furnished. We've got a cabin that's fully furnished as well. There's no restroom in it, but there's bathrooms close by for both the yurts and the cabin. It's not a historic cabin. It was built just a couple years ago, but it's a nice little cabin. We have 4 screen shelters that they're just that. They're just 4 walls and a roof with some screen. They're not furnished or anything, but they're a nice little alternative to a tent. You don't have to come set up a tent. You've got these screen shelters. We've got 12 tent sites that are tent only. We've got a few full hookup RV sites. We've got we got I want to say 35, 40, something like that, electric and water sites that are just electric and water that are not full hookup. And then we've got this area called Wagon Circle where you can rent the whole thing out if you want, or you can just rent out individual. But there's a group area right in the middle of it, like a group building, and then it's circled by I think 16 water and electric RV sites. So you can rent it out as a whole, rent out each site and take the whole area, or you can just rent out one site, whatever. And but it's kind of cool because it's a wagon circle. It's just a picture, frontier. It's frontiermen circling their wagons. That's what you've got there, except it's RVs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's pretty unique, I think.
So how would you describe the campground atmosphere at the park?
I mean, it's pretty. Like I said earlier, it's pretty slow pace. It's very wooded and shaded. It doesn't, even if it's full, it doesn't feel real busy because there's some pretty good privacy in most sites because of all the trees and the brush. Pretty relaxed. Lots of wildlife running around or flying around. Um, but even though I think we total, I don't remember how many sites we total, but it can be full. The park can be full, and it doesn't feel full because there's some good screening, good privacy between the sites, and you can kind of tuck away and kind of disappear.
So it's not like Garner?
No, I would say it's about as unlike Garner as you can get.
All right, I love it. So in your opinion, what are some of the good camping spots in the park for the listeners? Like, like there's certain camp spots that like camp spot 57 that the view or this section
Mhm.
of the park, the views are spectacular that maybe the listeners will have a little heads up on just the people that don't listen to the podcast.
Right. So we've got a camping loop called Brushy Trail, and it's just a straight. It's not even a loop. It's a straight shot, and then there's a little cul-de-sac at the end. Those three sites, I think they're 59, 60, and 61. I think those are kind of tucked back. Those are really popular sites because they're, like I said, they're at the end of a cul-de-sac. They're tucked away. We've got another area called Pecan Grove that's got some nice little tucked away sites. But I want to say probably those in Brushy are probably they're probably they're the most popular because they're tucked back away. I wish we had some campsites over at the lake, but it's strictly day use. But I wish we had some that had some really good views back there, but we don't currently.
For the lake and the water activities, do you all rent kayaks and canoes and stuff, or is it people bringing their own?
You can do both. We do have a rental area there, but I mean, when the lake level is low or non-existent like it is now, we don't rent them out. If it's low, it gets to a point to where you're dragging the kayak so far that it damages the kayak. So when the lake level got low, we stopped renting them out, and then now that it's completely dried up, we definitely don't rent them out. But there is a facility when the lake gets back up, you can rent and you can bring your own. We've got 2 boat launches out there. You can bring your own and launch your own kayak from there.
Okay, and then also for the fishing, I guess, is it the whole area around the lake when there's water or in the creeks and stuff that you do not need a fishing license if you pay for the park day pass or?
Yeah, I mean it's legal in Texas to fish from the banks or from a dock without a fishing license. If you want to go out on a boat or something, you have to have a license. But if you're just
Okay.
fishing from the bank, you don't need a license.
All right. All right. Nice. Nice. All right. Let's get into the hiking. what hiking trails are available, and really kind of like what is the terrain like there?
Okay. So there's two units of the park. There's the main park, and then there's the lake, like we talked about. And the main park, all the trails are pretty short. They kind of meander through a lot of trees, and there's some minor elevation changes, nothing crazy, but
Yeah.
they're really pretty. You can hike near Elm Creek. You can hike near Buffalo Wallow, which is a spring-fed pond, and they're really pretty little meandering um, trails. They're short. They're pretty easy. There are some old CCC features out there. There's some old CCC steps on some of them. We had the Legacy Trail, which kind of follows an old CCC trail, and there's some old CCC structures that you can go check out. There's some footbridges out there on these trails, and then on the lake side, there's really one trail. It's like 3.5 miles. It's longer. It's not shaded for the most part. It's pretty easy as long as you're prepared for the heat and the sun. It starts off going across the dam, and then it goes down along the lake, and then it kind of cuts back into the wilderness area, I guess you could call it. It follows an old road, so it's not too crazy. It's not too difficult. It's just longer, and it gets pretty hot and sunny. But it does cut through some really pretty oak groves. There's some really mature oaks, really mature junipers, elms, cottonwoods. Both sides, they're very different, but they're both really nice, and they're all pretty easy.
Yeah. And what is it, about a little over 5 miles of total trail in the park?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and most of that is the lakeside, is that 3.5 mile trail.
Yeah. Nice. So what wildlife can visitors expect to most commonly run into on trail?
You're definitely going to see deer. We got a lot of deer out here. Rabbit, the common stuff for this area: rabbits, squirrels. We got some armadillos digging around, raccoons. You probably won't want to run into any coyotes unless you're out hiking in the morning or in the evening. You might hear them. You're not going to see them,
Mm-hmm.
but you might hear them. Tons of birds, every kind of bird. Lots of reptiles. You could see a snake. Stay away from it. It's not going to hurt you as long as you don't mess with it. That's going to be the most common. You could see over by Elm Creek. You could see some beavers. Could see some porcupines. See the occasional fox and bobcat. But
Oh, really?
yeah, there's a pretty good sized bobcat that runs around. People will say they saw a cougar, but I guarantee you it's that bobcat. Oh, I don't guarantee it. They could have seen one, but it's most likely that bobcat. But you're gonna see a lot of deer. We have so many deer. You could see the occasional hog as well, but you're gonna see a lot of deer and rabbits.
So what do you think are the best times if someone that was at the park wanted to experience wildlife?
Yeah, I mean it's gonna be, as the sun is coming up and as the sun's going down. That's when they're gonna be most active. The deer you can really see anytime. There's
Yeah.
these pretty good family groups of deer that will come through it at any point. You're definitely going to see them in the morning. I see them every morning. Well, I shouldn't say definitely because somebody's going to come out here and say, I didn't see any deer. And Craig said I would see deer. You're very likely to see them in the morning, and they'll come out in the like mid afternoon as well when it's really hot. Excuse me,
Really?
when it's really hot. I don't know why, but they'll come out and graze a bit in the afternoon as well. But you're very likely going to see the most wildlife, in the morning as the sun's coming up, in the evening as it's going down.
And to the listeners, if you head out to Abilene State Park and you don't see a deer, come here to Montgomery. I have an acre in my backyard, and there are right now probably about 30 deer walking through the backyard. You can see them at all times of the day, and you can watch them eat all my plants.
Yep, yep, yeah, I believe it.
They're beautiful. It's neat to see them, but I hate them. I hate those deer. And you go to this nursery, and I was talking to a guy. I'm like, I need plants that are deer resistant. And he goes, look, I don't know. There's no scientific study that's backing me up on this. He goes, but every neighborhood, I guess it's depending on the deer and how they grew up, but some plants that are deer resistant work well in this neighborhood, and then in this neighborhood they don't. He goes, so
Huh.
I can't answer that, but yeah, they eat
Yeah.
everything, and it makes me mad.
And it's dangerous driving out here, especially between Buffalo Gap and the
Man,
park, because they're everywhere. They're in the roads. They walk through Buffalo Gap like they own the place,
yep.
and they see you coming. They don't care. They're still going to stand in the road. You got to be really careful driving out here, especially between Buffalo Gap and here. They're thick. It's thick with deer out here. But I've got to have that caveat. I'm not guaranteeing you will see one, but it's very likely.
And also, like, when it's rutting season, the bucks are crazy. They
Oh yeah.
don't care about nothing. And I put bird feeders and bird houses in my backyard, and I was heading out to go reseed them because they're eating me out of house and home. A doe was running from like 2 backyards down because there's no fences between our backyards. That doe had to been going about 60 miles an hour, and that buck was even going faster to catch
Yep.
her. And I'm like, that'd kill somebody if it hit you.
Absolutely. We see them up here. You can be hanging out at headquarters and you'll see that. You'll see a doe sprint by, and then half a second later you'll see 2 bucks chasing after it. Right at headquarters. It's deer are crazy.
Or the guys, the bucks are fighting in my backyard. So I run out there, get it, break it up, break it up. So kind of going back to hiking, what do you think are some specific safety tips for the hikers, that when they come to the park, that they should be mindful of?
Definitely bring plenty of water. We are in West Texas or West Central Texas, whatever you want to call it. It's hot. Bring lots of water, sunscreen, bug spray. We do have ticks, so take precautions against ticks. And then, don't leave food out if you're camping. Don't leave food out. Don't feed the animals, please. I think that's how we got our brave turkeys. I think it's probably people feeding them. But yeah, bring water. Please bring water. I've seen so many people hiking at this park and other parks with like half a bottle of Coca-Cola with them, and that's it. And that scares the crap out of me. Bring water,
Yeah.
lots of water. You cannot bring too much water.
I don't have a lot of, I don't know how I'm going to word this in a polite way, but I don't like push myself on people when I see them hiking, and they're not prepared. They're in flip-flops or this or that. I'm like, hike your own hike. If you want to be miserable, be miserable. But at the Guads, if I see you and you just have one little water bottle, amongst a party, or, you're sharing, or I am definitely calling you out. And,
Yeah.
you get into like Abilene, maybe it's a little bit different. It's 5 miles of trail. If you look at the map, you're pretty close, except for the backside of the lake where, you can get to help, or they can get to you. But you put yourself in this kind of danger in the Guads. Now you're endangering the lives of all the people that need to get out there and rescue you. So I've had some arguments with people and at the Guads, just seeing them that they're just not prepared, or they don't really understand. And I try to be nice, like, hey, what are you doing? And this is what you're about to experience. So, let's have a little chat here.
Yeah. And you're like you said, you're putting the rescuers in danger. You're tying up resources, and it's just not smart. Even if you're not worried about yourself, the other people, it takes a lot to go rescue somebody,
Yeah.
and people can get overheated, exhausted, dehydrated quick. I don't think they realize it. When I go hike, I usually take a couple extra bottles of water with me, just in case somebody needs them.
Yep.
I was I was hiking. My wife and I were hiking at Paladura. We were doing the Lighthouse Trail, and we were coming back, and I passed a mom and her probably, I don't know, 8-year-old kid, and they were headed out to the lighthouse, and he was wearing like jean shorts and flip flops, and she was wearing jeans and a t-shirt, and they had a bottle of Dr. Pepper with them that was about half empty. That's all they had, and they were intended to go all the way out. And I gave them 2 bottles of water, and I said, I really don't advise that you do that. And I was not a park employee at the time. I was
Yeah.
just a guy, but I was like, I think it's a bad idea for you to do this, but here's some water. And I like to think that they made it a few more feet, decided to come back, but I don't know. I don't know what happened,
Yeah.
but that was not how you hike in Palo Duro, that's for sure.
Well, people die in Palo Duro.
Yeah.
It it may be not every year, but it's every few years. People die at Big Bend. People same in the Guads. Like I don't know what it is if people just think like, oh, it's a hike and it's a national park or a state park. I'm going to be okay. But no,
I think people just think we're walking. We're walking. What's a big deal? We're walking, but there's so much more to it than just walking.
for you and at your park, what is the most important leave no trace principle there?
God, there's so many that are important, especially at a park like this that's such a historic park. Don't drive or park off pavement. You don't know, you're not just driving on grass. You could be driving on anything. You could be driving on a historic site. You could be driving on an archaeological site, or you could just be damaging the natural resources. Um, Clean up after yourself. I have to say, this park, the the visitors take really good care of this park. It is so rare that we have to stop and pick up trash. We have the best visitors at Abilene State Park. They clean up after themselves, and it's a blessing. I mean, it's awesome that how much the visitors care about this park. But picking up trash is kind of the obvious thing. There's other things like building brush shelters, collecting firewood, picking flowers, picking up rocks that people maybe don't realize you shouldn't do, collecting artifacts. I don't think people realize that this is not something you should be doing in a park. Obviously, you pick up trash. Don't mess with Texas. Everybody knows that, but
Yeah,
people need to remember, leave things where they are. They're there for a reason. It might not look important. It might just look like a rock, but it could be, that could be a prehistoric artifact. That could be part of a cooking hearth or a camp ring or fire ring. That could be part of the CCC structure.
yeah,
Rocks are cool. Look at them with your eyes, not with your hands. Don't paint rocks. Please don't paint rocks. I know it doesn't seem like a big deal to people, but please don't leave painted rocks everywhere. They're not supposed to be there.
yeah.
And then keep your pets leashed and clean up after them because they can cause a lot of damage as well. I love dogs. I love my dogs. Love other people's dogs, but keep them on a leash and clean up after them.
Yep. And if you clean up after your dogs, don't leave the little baggies at the trailhead. Go ahead and just
Right.
take them with you. Throw them
Yeah.
in the trash.
Yeah. When I was at Martin Dodds, I could tell people, hey, take care of your dogs or the alligators will take care of them for you. I can't tell people that here, but um, that was always a good tactic at Martin Dodds. To keep your pets on a leash because these alligators, they like dogs. I don't know if that's true or not, but it keeps people honest, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So talking about the CCC, what is the historical significance of Abilene State Park?
So this is where you're going to get me going, and you're going to have to tell me to stop probably because being a history guy, I could talk forever about history stuff.
Yeah,
So even going back before the CCC, there were native peoples that lived here. The Apache lived here way back in, the 18th, 17th centuries. And then, the Comanche and the Tonkawa came down and kind of displaced the Apache. The Spanish came through in the late 18th century, kind of chasing the Apache west. And after that, the Comanche, like I said, the Comanche moved in, the Tonkawa moved in. And then, European settlement came. And so the nearest town to Abilene State Park is not Abilene. It's actually Buffalo Gap, and there's a lot of history to Buffalo Gap. We mentioned the Callahan Divide is a range of hills that kind of splits the area, and bison hunters came through. Well, the bison would move through this gap that's in the Callahan Divide. And then bison hunters came through and they would follow these herds and they set up a camp at this gap. And they called it Buffalo Gap. Makes sense. So it was a camp for bone collectors and bison hunters. And it became, the most populated area in the region. And it actually became the first county seat, Taylor County, in the 1870s. And then the Texas Pacific Railroad came through, but it didn't come through Buffalo Gap. It went through Abilene. So Abilene, or what became Abilene. Abilene grew and Buffalo Gap didn't. Abilene became the city that it is now. Buffalo Gap is now the little town that it is now. And then in the early 1920s, Lake Abilene was impounded. Elm Creek was dammed up, and this little lake was formed. It was intended to provide water to the city of Abilene, but they learned pretty quick that it was not going to work. It wasn't sufficient. So they said, well, let's use it as like a recreational area. So the state acquired some of the property near the lake in 1933. CCC Company, 1823, started moving in 1933 and building the park. And then the park opened in May of 1934. So things were done a lot more quickly back then. They moved in 33, opened in 34. That was a pretty quick turnaround.
Yeah.
And then in 1935, the CCC Company was reorganized as a all-black veterans company, and it came back to Abilene. They actually were organized in a different location, and the local folks weren't real happy to have an all-black company out there. It was not a state park, but it was just an area nearby. But the mayor of Abilene, Mayor Johnson of Abilene, he was like, hey, we'll bring them back here. We're happy to have them. So he got with the local CCC committee, and they petitioned Congressman Blanton to bring them back out. So they came back out in the spring of 35 and did more work on the park. Yeah, the history of this park is tied to Abilene going back hundreds of years, but the most noticeable, I guess, is going to be your CCC history. Like I said, the mayor of Abilene said, bring those guys back. We're happy to have them. Yeah. And they came out and finished up the park, worked on some other parks in the state.
So are there still historical structures in the park, and what are some of the cool ones that visitors should look for?
Yeah, so lots of structures still here. When you come into the park after you go past headquarters and go to the main part of the park, our big CCC concessions building / bathhouse. It's a big red sandstone structure. It's got a watchtower on it. The pool is there. The pool was originally built by the CCC in the 30s. When the company came back in 35, they built this big water tower that's right there. So those are the most striking, obvious CCC structures. But then you've got these little, they call them stone couches. They are the most uncomfortable couch you can imagine because they're built from stone, but they're these little like fire pit and picnic circles made of the local sandstone that you can still see. They're in various stages of ruin, unfortunately, because they weren't identified as significant historical structures for a long time. I don't know why that was, but now they're we know how important they are, and we're working on preserving them and making them accessible. But those are all throughout the park on the main park section.
I bet you they're more comfortable than the Mission Tejas CCC bathtub.
It could be. I don't know. I've never used that amenity, but could be.
Yeah, it's just a bunch of rocks that's shaped kind of like a bathtub, and I don't know if anybody bathed there, but I was like, yeah, that doesn't look very comfortable.
Yeah, it's probably not.
I know you've been there, since I guess 2022. And maybe even if just the historical aspect of the park, how have you seen the park evolve over time?
So I've only been here since April of last year. I started with the agency in 2022, but I've been here since April of last year. since I've been here, I've worked on. So the park was without a superintendent for a while before I got here. So my main task when I got here was just kind of bring in a little bit of direction again. Not that they didn't have direction. They did a really good job of kind of managing themselves in the absence of a superintendent, but just providing some leadership and direction. I'm probably too big on signage. I really like signage. So I've added a little bit of
Yeah.
signage and updated some signage. This park is laid out pretty strangely and you can pretty easily get lost. So just getting some signage out has been one of my focuses, cleaning up areas that, well, like I said, providing some access to some of these CCC structures, the smaller like picnic areas and stuff. But my main focus has not been on changing the park too much in my first year, just kind of maintaining what we have and kind of getting a feel for the staff. I know over time before I got here, the park it grew a lot. It was just
Yeah.
like 300 or 400 acres initially, but adding the lake unit in the early 2000s made it, over 2,000 acres. We've increased ADA access. We've built an ADA accessible trail. We've added trails over time. The entrance moved at one point. So there's been a lot of changes to the park over the years. But in the last, less than year that I've been here, I haven't tried to change too much. I do have goals. There are definitely things I want to do going forward. But I didn't want to come in and start flipping tables and telling everybody how everything's going to be because they already had a good grasp on this park. And I just wanted to kind of learn the park before I made too many changes.
Kind of listening to you talk about the history, it's pretty fascinating. And you being a history buff, how do you share this history with visitors today?
So, I mean, just like this, just having conversations with people. We do have history walks we don't have an interpreter, we have an ops trainee, which I think you might have alluded to that position earlier at another park. But he does a lot of our interpretation. He does history walks and programs. We do Big Country Frontier Day once a year in November, and that involves reenactors. That involves a lot of local and semi-local organizations that come out. Buffalo Soldiers, Fort Concho, Fort Griffin. All these local places will come out and just kind of teach and live the history of this area. There's signage all around the park. There's what we call the Legacy Trail, where we're putting up signage right now that tells the history of the park. But I just love having the conversations. I personally
Yeah.
don't do a lot of programming, but just casual conversations with people. I will talk people's ears off about the history of this park because it's so interesting and it's so unique to this area. But it's also part of the bigger, history of West Texas and the frontier, and it's very very closely linked with the history of this state.
So why do you think preserving this history in the park is so important?
Well, it gets lost over time. It's an old park built in the 30s. You don't have a lot of firsthand accounts anymore of the early days of the park. And then, as time goes on, you don't get many firsthand accounts of the 50s, the 60s, and 70s. There generations of people came out here, and those people, there's not as many of them around anymore. And it's important to keep telling the story of this park and keep it relevant. It's also some of the earliest archaeological discoveries in this area happened right here in this park. Or prehistoric findings. There's prehistoric sites all over this park, and we've got to tell those stories. I don't know, people go to parks for the natural resources, I think most of the time, but there's so many really neat cultural resources here too that need to be shared, and I don't want them to be forgotten.
Yeah, it's funny you said earlier when we were talking about kind of the historical significance, seeing the rock, finding this, finding that, and to just kind of leave it alone, maybe just report it. There's two things left at the Guads that I want to happen, and I would love to find an arrowhead and see a mountain lion.
Yeah.
And I was at Mustang Island State Park, and I it's like, the listeners know this. I am a huge fan now of when you go to a park. I know you have an itinerary, you want to get all these things accomplished, but just take a second, look at the board, ask the people at the front desk what programs are currently going on, and take part in them. They are amazing. And
Hmm.
I learned this from in the Guads. Leah has a program that she gives. I think it's called Point Break, where it was five gentlemen in a wheelchair. Their goal was to climb the highest peak in Texas, and three of them made it. And she's given the story. My hiking partners are tearing up. I'm tearing up. She's tearing up. It was spectacular. And from that day on, I was like, I'll never miss a program at any state park or national park. So, my youngest was going to Corpus Christi A&M. We went to Mustang Island. They had a a little program going on, and you got to throw a spear at a bison, and I got to look at all these cool things. A lot of fun. And I was talking to the gentleman that had the arrowheads, and I was telling him, like, oh man, I want to find an arrowhead in the quad so bad. And he goes, so when you find it, you're going to leave it there, right? And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, yes. Do not pick it up. Take a picture and report it to the park, the headquarters, the rangers, and then of course we're having a conversation of why it's important to just leave it alone, and which makes 100% sense. And so that it's still a goal of mine, but I will definitely take a picture and not touch it. And I learned, and it was a funny interaction, and I learned my lesson.
Yeah, unfortunately, this park got pretty picked through, especially the lakeside, because it just really wasn't managed for a long time until we started leasing it in the early 2000s. But from the time the uh, area was established until when we took over or when we started leasing the lake, it was picked through by rock hunters and artifact hunters and stuff. There's still a lot of stuff out there, but nowadays the chance that I'm coming across an arrowhead or a projectile point or a flint knife or something is pretty chances are pretty low. There's still plenty of stuff out there, but it's not that real obvious artifact stuff because it just got picked through over the years, unfortunately.
In your opinion, what do you think is the most underrated area in the park that doesn't get enough love?
I mean, I keep talking about it, but it's definitely the lakeside. It just
Yeah.
not nearly as many people go over there, especially with the lake dried up now. People are like, well, why go over there? But it's just so beautiful, and there's so many different things you can see over there. It's there's so much more to that area than the lake itself. You can see like I said, groves of trees, but you can also see real dry, arid, deserty looking areas. There's elevation changes. There's lots of wildlife. And like I said, the best views in the whole park are back there. So there's so much more to that area than just a dried up lake.
All right. So as we kind of start to wrap up, describe the perfect one day itinerary at the park.
Okay, so you're coming in. I would stop in Buffalo Gap at the Gap Cafe, get you some breakfast, load up on some coffee, come into the park, stop at headquarters, get your permit. Hopefully, you already had a reservation, but if not, that's okay. We can still get you a permit. Then I would hit the Lake Abilene Dam Trail Road, whatever you want to call it. It's got a bunch of different names, which is strange, but the Dam Trail is what I like to call it. Hit the Dam Trail early because it's going to get hot, it's going to get sunny. So hit it early, get that done, and then come over to the park side, hike the Elm Creek Trail. Elm Creek Trail is shaded, it's pretty, it's along the Elm Creek. There's trail side signage that kind of tells you what you're seeing. Maybe picnic at Buffalo Wallow, a nice little light lunch picnic right there by the water. It's clear, it's spring fed. And then, like I said, you're close by to everything else. So hit some of the other trails, hit the Legacy Trail, Go check out some of the CCC stuff. Check out the buildings. If you got kids, we've got a nice little playground that sits between the pool and the CCC water tower that our friends group bought for us a few years ago. Check that thing out. Play around, hang out under the oak trees there, the live oaks. And then on your way out, stop by headquarters again, get your passport stamped, pick up some souvenirs to remember your time by, and maybe stop at Perini's on your way out and get you some steaks at Perini's.
Nice. Love it. Love it. Love it. All right. The most important question of this whole podcast, the most important to me, is how can visitors, first off, get connected to the park as well as help support and protect the park?
Yeah, so we're always looking. Well, there's a few different ways. I mean, on the ground, follow leave no trace principles is one of the best ways to protect the park. But other than that, volunteering. We're always looking for volunteers for different projects. We're always looking for park hosts. If you want to come live out here at the park for a few months, come park host. You can live here for free in exchange for work. If those aren't your speed, we have a friends group, Friends of Abilene State Park. Join the friends group. Come out and volunteer for to help with a program, to help with an event. You can help table at other events in town or throughout the area, just talking about the park. And then if none of that works, just tell people about us. You're at the grocery store, you see somebody buying a loaf of bread. Hey, speaking of bread, Abilene State Park is awesome. I don't know how the two tie together, but they do. Pumping gas. Hey, use that gas to drive on out to Abilene State Park. Just tell people about us. We've got a ton of locals that come out all the time, but there are so many people that have no idea we exist as well. We've got a huge Air Force base close by, Dyess Air Force Base. We try to get them out here as much as we can, but a lot of them don't know we exist. Just tell other people about us. You can follow our Facebook page. You can always check out our website. There's links to the various opportunities. The Friends group has a Facebook page as well. I don't think they have a website currently. I think they're working on one, but social media is a really good way to keep up with us. Or just come on out. We'll tell you all about what's going on out here. We'll tell you all about how you can help us out.
Oh, nice, nice, nice. All right. Last question of the podcast. You're a salesman. Sell the listeners on why it is important and why they must have Abilene State Park on their bucket list.
Yeah, so we've got things that you're not going to see at other parks. There's no other park where you can stay in a yurt. It's like you're in Mongolia. It's not really like you're in Mongolia, but you can come stay in a yurt. You're going to see one of the oldest state parks in our system. It's been around. It was started in 33. It opened in 34. Beautiful red sandstone structures. You're going to get a taste of all sorts of different things right here at the park. You're going to see forests. You're going to see creeks. You're going to see desert. You're going to see so many different things. You can access it all pretty easily. It's an easy park to hike. It's an easy park to camp in. We've got the greatest staff in the system. I know there's great staff at every park, but we have such a good, friendly local staff here. We got the best regular visitors that come out. You can become a regular visitor too. It's just such a beautiful, fun, interesting, historic park, and there's no reason not to stop by.
I love it. And you will get to be best friends with a turkey.
And you'll get to be best friends with a turkey. Absolutely. We have close encounters with turkeys here. And where else are you going to get that?
Nowhere else. Well, Craig, I know, you're busy and I can't thank you enough for coming on the podcast. I've had a blast. I think the episode is way informative, and I hope that the listeners definitely put Abilene State Park on the bucket list. I will definitely be back, and I will definitely let you know when I'm coming because, there's a goal that I have on the podcast. I always say it. I'm not sure if you read the fine print, but I will at least meet in person every guest that I've had on the podcast or share a hiking trail with, but there will be some kind of interaction. So I will definitely keep you updated.
Yeah, of course. I look forward to having you out, and all of your listeners, I look forward to having them out as well.
Absolutely. Well, you have a wonderful rest of your weekend and take care.
Thanks. I appreciate it. It was fun.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
And that wraps up another exciting episode of the Trailblazing Texas Podcast. We hope you enjoyed the episode today, and stay tuned for our next episode where we will pick back up where we left off and guarantee to uncover many more hiking gems and share many more tips to enhance your experience on the trail. Until then, happy trails and happy hiking.